Minecraft. It's a game. If you don't know it, oh, you're gonna. For those of you who don't know, Minecraft is a government-funded simulation created by enemy of the state Marcus Peterson after labor laws decided child labor was actually bad, and this is actually an elaborate cover-up and attempt to chemically warp the minds of children to make them yearn for the mines once more. The game also introduces some other concepts to children, such as slavery and fascism and brewing performance-enhancing drugs, as well as inbreeding farm animals. Now, slavery and fascist dystopias are all good things to teach to children. However, in this shadow government-funded simulation, Marcus Peterson also included some lore, and by lore I mean actual backstory, not
In the Islamic faith, the number 23 matters a lot, meaning that those 23 pillars in the
I am today going to explain the lore of this series, because it has lore. And if you're sitting there going, but I don't think there's lore, it's a sandbox game. I mean, come on, you can't make up a story. You are an idiot. You are a big fucking stupid moron, and I hate you. A bit rude. Come on, man. You're right, I'm sorry, Look, Denise and I haven't been doing too well. We've been arguing, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take it out on you. Alright, thanks. Can we... Yeah, no, absolutely. Other channels, such as the Game Theorizing Man and Weef, have made certain videos similar to this one about Minecraft lore and have their own interpretations. I also really like this guy. I'm not being disrespectful when I say this guy. I can't remember what he's called, but I'm going to put him here. He's a cool creator, and you should go support him. And the other two, they make great videos. You should check them out. I agree with some things they've said in their videos about Minecraft's lore, and I will be cherry-picking certain parts of their videos for mine. But I don't necessarily agree with all of it, especially not to name names, but some theorists have quite bizarre theories, not just about Minecraft, but in general. And, well, I decided to make my own version of the Minecraft lore and present it to you wonderful viewers who clicked on this video. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of potion of healing and some rotting flesh, and curl up with your rabid wolf as I explain to you the So dinosaurs did exist in Minecraft, as we see from these bones and these bones and these bones and all these bones. I don't know what dinosaurs they belong to, or if they're supposed to be descendants of other creatures in Minecraft. Like, they're blocks, so it's kind of hard to say. So, I don't know, you can interpret that. Now, I know I'm off to a bad start by saying that you should interpret something for yourself in a video where I explain things to you. So let's talk about something else that I do know about. Perhaps God's greatest mistake evolved after the dinosaurs, and that is humans. Now, the humans evolved into different civilizations, as they do in real life, due to, the ocean. Humans did exist, and we know this because of the remnants of their civilization, which are ocean monuments, jungle temples, and desert temples, to name a few structures in the game. And we know that the villagers didn't build this because they're fuckwits who take ridiculously long to do mundane tasks. I mean, look at this villager farming. What a fucking nerd. And they also made guardians for them, which is fairly obvious for the ocean monuments, as the guardians are still there in the form of... shit, what are they called again? Oh, I can't remember, I'll look it up later. And they shoot you with lasers, which, is a Pokemon ability, and no natural creatures should have the power of a fucking blaster from Star Wars, so therefore they're probably robots, which I think is also confirmed in the Mob Bestiary, which is a book I've read, which isn't something I could say about a lot of books. I'm illiterate. But I believe that the other temples also had guardians in the form of creepers, which MatPat has made a video on discussing how they are actually man-made creatures due to the fact that in the Mob Bestiary, again, they have TNT inside of them, which And I do think they were probably made by two different civilizations at this point, the ones who made the jungle temples and the ones who made the desert temples, because it works if they are in either, to be honest, because obviously the green scenery in the jungles would be great camouflage for the creepers, but also in the deserts, the only actual plant life there is cacti, which, I mean, at least in Minecraft looks similar to creepers because everything's cubes. It's just like a cube thing. Obviously, the creepers are a bit more lightly coloured, but in some interpretations of older versions of the creepers, they actually are a darker green, which could imply that they've actually decayed over time and the plant life that they've been surrounded by as camouflage is starting to wear off, similar to how the iron golems are decaying in the game due to the vines on them. So now that we've established that humans did exist and built these structures and were living in this world, you might be wondering what happened to them, because there's not really anyone in the game who looks like us. Well, to answer that question, we need to go to Now, to fully dissect the lore of Minecraft, we now have to move into the spin-off games. Yeah! Minecraft Legends is a game that exists, and a lot of you might not know that because it pretty much died on a release. So, for all of you who haven't played it, or haven't played it since it came out, Minecraft Legends is about you being a human from present-day Minecraft being taken to, I think it's another dimension, or back in time, it's not really clear. And basically, you fight off a piglin invasion on the overworld by uniting all the different mobs and golems and charging a defense. I view this game as semi-canonical, mainly because in one of the first trailers they showed a villager reading a story to their child, and then it led into the, I believe, cutscenes or actual gameplay in the trailer. So I believe it's a similar situation to what happens with fairy tales, where they're quite dark initially, but eventually get Disneyfied and all the copious amounts of blood and gore get swept away in order to make them suitable for the ears of the mine-working youth. It's a similar situation to that, where I think that the Piglin War did happen, but I believe not only has it been sanitized, but also certain details have been swapped out due to present-day elements, like the zombies and skeletons. I don't think they are actually zombies and skeletons in the actual war. I think what they are representing is humans, the different human civilizations, as I talked about, as the zombies typically live in the swamp areas, and the skeletons in Legends are always found in the snow areas, and I believe Legends is showing us actually uniting us all these civilizations. Creepers also function the same and sort of have their own civilization, but as I talked about before, I believe they're actually golems, so I do believe they're in the war, I just don't believe they're their own civilization. I'm a bit undecided on whether the hosts are canon or not. I believe they may be a thing that the humans worship, but I don't know if they actually got directly involved in the war. I also don't believe that you, yourself, the player, are canon in it, or at least you're not actually from the future or from another dimension. I believe you were just there. Spoilers for the children's game that came out several years ago, but you actually win! It's never actually explained in the game why the piglins invaded, and to this day it still remains a bit of a mystery. Some people think it was because of greed and wanting to mine gold, others believe it was because they destroyed the nether too much and it became too uninhabitable to live in, but that doesn't really explain things like the Bastion remnants, because in Legends, we never actually go into the nether, so I don't really know how their own fortresses got destroyed. The only thing I can think is that they were actually running away from a threat that was actually destroying them beyond climate change. And I believe that threat was none other than the Wither. I don't know what the fuck that was. I believe that due to the copious amounts of giant rib cages that you can find in Soul Sand Valleys, which are filled with blocks that you use to make withers, that there was at one point a race of giant withers that were ravaging the nether and just destroying everything. And that might be why it looks lava-y now and everything's destroyed. Maybe it was an ice age before, I don't really know. Maybe my parent was right about the ice age, who knows? You might be asking yourself how these withers ever evolved, if the piglins were there, and if the piglins were also there, how the piglins and the withers actually evolved simultaneously, as it would be like if dinosaurs and cavemen existed at the same time. Like, it doesn't really work. Well, I believe that the withers were actually an artificial creation by the Seer. The Seer is a giant piglin in Minecraft Legends who appears to be second in command to the Great Hog, and has some level of knowledge of sorcery and spells, and uses the Orb of Dominance, also known as the Heart of Ender, which we will talk about more in Minecraft Dungeons. All you need to know for right now is that there is a third dimension called the End, which is kind of alive, and the Heart of Ender is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's sort of the energy of that dimension, and it tries to invade and bleed into other dimensions, like the Nether, which we see in the Warped Forest, which are quote-unquote where the Nether meets the End. Maybe it was out of noble intentions, but I do believe they tried to resurrect an army of the dead at some point, maybe to hug their piglin wives and children that they don't get to see again. But clearly it didn't go very well, as we know, there are giant wither rib cages all over the place, implying that, similarly to when you tried to summon the wither in real Minecraft, it creates a giant monster, or in this case, giant monsters, who destroy everything. The piglins, obviously not being very prepared for this, despite the fact that they have netherite all over their dimension, which I assume they probably mined to fight the wither, were still quite inept at fighting withers and dealing with this threat they had created. Or, well, one of them had created anyway. So, they decided, fuck it, we're going to go to another dimension. We're just going to leave this mess behind and go to greener pastures. This led them to going into the overworld in order to escape. They also brought nether breathers into the world, as we see in Minecraft Legends, because if they're not on Minecraft, we see that piglins end up mutating into zombies in the overworld, probably due to the chemicals in the air that may be just harmful to them, as opposed to humans. Obviously, this plan of theirs failed miserably, and they decided to have a hostile takeover instead of talking it out with the humans, and it blew up in their faces, and now they were in the Nether without any of their leaders, without any of their technology or weapons, as they had just got them all blown up in the invasion, and are more desperate than ever. So, what do they do from here? Well, they do an X-Men Days of Future Past, dear viewers. They go back to the humans, their enemies at this point, and they say, we fucked up, this is why we invaded, please help us. And then the humans go, fuck you, why should we help you? And the Seer goes, oh, I'll give you this little neat orb. And the humans are all like, yeah, alright. So they take the orb, either because they wanted to use it for themselves, or because they just didn't want it in the hands of the piglins, because look what it's already done. And this now united human race goes into the Nether, and builds nether fortresses, and fights alongside the piglins to get rid of the withers. You might be wondering how I'm so sure that the piglins and the humans work together, and it is because of the gold armor that you can wear in the Nether and the piglins' reaction to it, because they don't attack you if you're just minding your own business, but if they see you mining gold, or if you're near a piglin brute, they do attack you even though you're wearing gold armor. So it's clearly not a disguise, like they still know you're a human, but for some reason gold just doesn't make them attack you. And why is that? Because piglins love gold, surely that will make them more aggressive to you. Well, I believe it's because it may have been some sort of signal to piglins that these humans are friendly and will not hurt them and just want to work together to defeat the wither. It's kind of flimsy evidence, I know, but also, again, it's a sandbox game. What did you expect? There's not going to be, loads of evidence for things. Anyway, now that this wither war has now started, we can move on to the next part of our story. In vanilla Minecraft, there are ruin portals all over the overworld. It's actually how we know that Minecraft Legends is somewhat canon. However, amongst these ruin portals, you will occasionally find a really, really big one just lying there. And I think that the Withers went through these and into the overworld, and that's how they destroyed the human civilization. Because think about it. You just destroyed all these portals and there's remnants of them everywhere, and now all of a sudden you need to go back to where these portals lead to fight a war and put soldiers through them to go fight the war. So, what do? Do you make all the portals from scratch, use all your diamond pickaxes mining obsidian, or do you try and rebuild the existing portals? Because that would save a lot of resources. So I imagine that's what they did. And I imagine they also built the really big ones, and I imagine that's how the Wither got through, or Withers. And then from there, they were able to and destroy everything with their skulls and kill people and turn them into zombies and skeletons, similarly to how they do in the Nether, as they turn the humans into skeletons and Wither skeletons. Oh, one thing I should also mention is that the blazes, I think, are also man-made, as they don't spawn outside of spawners in the Nether Fortress, so I assume they were also a golem similar to that of the Guardians and the Creepers. Anyway, shit hits the fan, the overworld is in trouble, and they don't really know what to do, so they decide, fuck this, everyone's dying, we're just going to dig underground and try and find some sort of solution. Eventually, the humans and the allies, the Illagers, who I realise I haven't actually explained yet. The Illagers are like villagers, except grey and mean. They were originally villagers, but they decided to take up arms to help with the Piglin invasion, and I think at this point, they were still on good terms with the humans, but probably weren't in the actual Nether fighting the Wither. I believe they may have been stationed in the overworld to protect their own villages. However, we know they were in the ancient cities because several types of blocks that are used to make Illager structures in vanilla Minecraft also show up in the ancient cities, and certain weapons of theirs can be won in trial chambers, which I believe were built at around the same time. In the ancient cities, we can find two experiments, or what I believe were experiments by the humans. We can find the portal in the middle of the ancient cities, which I don't think actually ever worked. I think that was a failed experiment. Yeah, sorry, Warden fans. Go back to the Minecraft marketplace. But we also find Skulk and the Warden, and I don't believe they came out of a portal. I believe they were another experiment, maybe caused by the humans trying to use the Heart of Ender in a similar way to the Seer to sort of create their own counter-wither in the Warden, which is made from Skulk, which is made from the souls of the damned, similar to soul sand, and was made as a countermeasure to the Wither. This is also backed up by the fact that humans are the only people who can actually activate the Warden in the ancient cities, as other mobs walking around and making noise doesn't actually get them to rise up. At least I think that's still a thing. Regardless, as we see in Disc 5, which I'm not going to play because I don't want to get sued. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to listen to it, but it pretty much depicts the ancient cities being attacked by what I think is the Wither. I believe the Illagers were left behind because clearly in Minecraft Dungeons, they're not on good terms with humans. Also in vanilla Minecraft as well. In both games, they are antagonists and try to attack you and destroy villages, and I believe that may be because they were burned by some sort of betrayal from the humans, i.e. being left behind to die. So the humans ended up making fortresses even further underground, which we now know are strongholds, which do contain cages, implying they were maybe experimenting with zombies and zombie villagers and trying to cure them, which may have worked with the zombie villagers, as we can cure them in vanilla Minecraft with golden apples and potions of, I think, weakness? Either weakness or healing, but clearly won't with humans, as we still can't cure them in the base game. However, they were successful with the end portals, which are portals in the stronghold, which can be activated using Eyes of Ender, which are items made from blaze powder and ender pearls. I also believe ender pearls are man-made, similarly to blaze powder, which comes from blazes, who are golems. And the reason I believe this is because, as I'm about to talk about, Endermen wouldn't actually exist at this point, so the only way they could possibly get it is if ender pearls are man-made technologies that just we can't make in the base game, similar to saddles and horse armor. So the humans end up in the end, after completing the end portal, but eventually realize it's a one-way trip and decide they're just going to make do in the end, and they do. They do that. and they make end cities and end ships, and on the end ships they have ender dragon heads, which I don't believe are real either. Because, as we see in Minecraft Dungeons, the end is a lot more vibrant than it is in vanilla Minecraft, implying that it's more of a healthy ecosystem. Which means if there's more animals and plant life, then where are the dragons? I find it hard to believe that if the end is supposed to be prospering more, then there wouldn't be more dragons. So therefore I believe they are a fake creature made by humans. I don't think that about the Ender Dragon though, but we'll get to that in a minute. So while that explains what happened to the humans in the overworld, keep in mind there are still some in the Nether. And I believe at some point the humans in the Nether were actually able to kill all the withers there, and eventually were able to go back home and prosper in the new... Just kidding, their civilization's been destroyed and they are now post-apocalypse survivors. I believe also at this point that the Wardens and Illagers were able to fully defeat all the withers that had made their way into the overworld, but the damage had been done at this point. The human civilization was irreparably damaged, leaving what was left of the human race to essentially become nomads and adventurers, which does make sense if they were soldiers, if they just went around looking for adventures, whereas the villagers would proceed to rebuild and become the most civilized and sentient species in the world, as well as the Illagers, who would also rebuild, just evilly, building their devious towers and mansions. The nomad and adventurer lifestyle is also one that I believe that these adventurers may have passed down to their future descendants. As we see in Minecraft Dungeons, there aren't very many humans in the world, but the ones we do see, both in the Minecraft Dungeons books, yes, there are Minecraft Dungeons books which show the canon characters you play as in Minecraft Dungeons, as well as in that one starting cutscene with that one guy. There aren't very many humans, but the ones that do seem to be around don't really seem to be part of any sort of civilization, and are just sort of on their own, adventuring and living rough. And I believe that was generally just the way ahead at that point, until eventually all the humans died out. However, before the humans died out, we have to talk about Minecraft Dungeons, which is another spin-off game that, believe it or not, exists. Minecraft Dungeons' plot is essentially that there is a really short and ugly Illager who finds the Orb of Dominance, hence why I believe that the Seer gave it to the humans as a peace offering, is it has to get into the overworld somehow for dungeons. The Orb of Dominance is found by the Illager, and he becomes the Arch-Illager and takes over the whole Illager society and tries to take over the world by creating giant golems and making sentient cauldrons. I don't fucking know. You and your companions in the game fight through Illagers and zombies and skeletons and fish and defeat the Illager and destroy the Heart of Ender. However, the shards actually get scattered around in the overworld, which is what you find in the DLCs. You go around the overworld and destroy what monsters the shards created. This all culminates in Echoing Void, which is the final DLC, in which some Endermen find the last shard and take it back to the end, and upgrade themselves into Ender Sense. We see that once we enter the end, which, by the way, the Illagers also enter the end, which implies that they know about end portals, which explains why they're trying to build their own out of wool in the woodland mansions. In the end, we see that this orb has manifested itself into an imperfect version of the Heart of Ender, and eventually rebuilds itself into the Vengeful Heart of Ender, which is the final boss that you fight, and once you defeat him, or it, I should say, you go back into the overworld and celebrate, because the Heart of Ender is destroyed and everything's fine. And then from this point, all the humans would die out, and the villagers would rebuild, and the Illagers would sort of die out as well, because there seem to be a lot of them in dungeons, but they're quite few and far between in vanilla Minecraft, which implies that they are slowly dying out, which is, you know, a good thing. And obviously, there are still zombies and skeletons, but they'll rot too much eventually and just become dust. So onwards and upwards. The end, however, different story. Because I believe that the Heart of Ender, or what was left of it, actually manifested itself into the Ender Dragon and maybe forced Endermen to build the towers and the End Crystals, which they would be able to do if they were humans who brought gas tiers and glass and obsidian into the end with them. Now, my evidence for this is kind of flimsy. It's really just based on the fact that the Heart of Ender is clearly able to change its shape based on how perfect or imperfect it is, and I believe the Ender Dragon may be its final form due to the similar colour scheme. I also believe that this is a weaker version of the Heart of Ender, and I believe that it may be trying to sort of shut itself off from the rest of the End and other dimensions, just to sort of survive, really, because it's been destroyed beyond repair, and the End is suffering as a result, as different plants have stopped growing, leading certain subspecies of Enderman to die out, leaving just the Enderman and the chorus fruit in the end. Which, again, leads us to present-day Minecraft, where the player character goes to the end and fully vanquishes the Heart of Ender, or the Ender Dragon, and frees the evolved humans, letting them go back into the overworld, all free and good and happy. So we're all caught up, right? Well, you see, there's one part of the Minecraft lore that we haven't actually talked about so far, and that is you, the player character. I touched on it earlier, but there's no one there in the overworld at present day that quite looks like you unless you're playing multiplayer. And I don't really have an answer as to why, to be honest. I want you to figure that out. Because it's like you said in the beginning, you're right, it is a sandbox game, and it is your story. But it does have lore. But that lore doesn't necessarily need to affect you and the decisions you make. You can fight the Ender Dragon if you want. You can not fight the Ender Dragon if you want. You can just live a peaceful life. You can become the Emperor of Villagers and be better at enslaving than the Villagers ever were. You could make a penis. You could make a Saul Goodman. That's the beauty of Minecraft. The lore is the canvas, and you are the painter, and the player character is the paintbrush. So I implore you to go turn on Minecraft and make your magnum opus. Thank you for watching, dear viewer. Please consider subscribing and keeping up with the next few videos I make.